Stick around, you guys. I'm going to show you the progress I've made on this Grew Your Own stud. You don't want to miss this groundwork. Welcome back to Becky Amio Horse Training. We are working with the coming 3-year-old Grew Your Own stud from a few months ago, where I posted the video about trying to pick up his feet for the first time and feet handling in general. And he was pretty scared and pretty resistant, and I didn't get very far in that video. And since then, I've done a little bit more work with him, not a whole lot, weather permitting. And he's one of those horses that the breeder/owner has allowed me to take as much time as I want to on this horse. And that's just kind of what he needs, is a lot of small sessions, taking as much time as I can with him and kind of having a lot of patience. And I have had a friend come and work with him, wanted to play with him just a little bit on a line. And look, as I'm grooming here, I want to point out he's got a foot cock there. So he's really kind of enjoying this, and he's okay with me touching him all over. But back to that friend, kind of a larger man. I wish I would have taken a picture of him working with this horse, because he made this horse look tiny. And he worked with him on a line, and anytime this horse tried to pull away a little bit, my friend didn't move. And the conclusion that we came to is that when this horse jerks or pulls on the line, he jerks me off balance, pulls me towards him, and he jerks me his direction, which in turn scares him, and then we go backwards, and that's why we were going backwards so much in all of our sessions. So I kind of went old school. This is how I used to work with horses up until about 6-7 years ago. Off the line, everything at liberty, in the round pen, kind of your decision to stand here with me, or you can choose to go out on the rail and get worked. This guy, actually, I don't have to work him very much or very hard to get to this place with him. I didn't work him at all before I was in there brushing on him just now. I turned him out, he played a little bit, I think I cleaned his pen, and I came in and I brought all my tack over. And so what I really want to get to today, my intention is to work on backup in the bit for you guys today and show you what I do on the ground, teaching them to back up before I get on their back. And this guy's still a ways away from getting on his back, but I'm doing all of this stuff because this is what I can do right now with him. This is what he's allowing me to work on. And I've worked a little bit on moving his hind end over. Obviously, you can see that. He understands what that cue means. So we're making teeny little progresses here in a lot of different areas. You know, we're not going by the book on the curriculum, so to speak. We're kind of getting done what we can get done and doing whatever this horse is accepting and allowing us to teach him. And I wanted to show you guys how I put the bit on right there, because some horses that I get, you know, they're head shy, they're ear shy, they're not going to let me bridle them. And so I really like my little halter bridle combo where I can snap the bit in on the cheek piece and then put it in their mouth like that and then snap it on. And I went and grabbed my saddle just now, and this is kind of what he does when I go to grab my little bareback saddle. He tends to walk away, and sometimes he needs to make a few laps around before he stops for me. I drop all the gear on the ground for him. That happens, you know, that's a normal thing that happens, or they can be at the tie rail and sometimes all of the equipment slips off their back, and I just don't want them to be scared of it. And I really liked how he didn't jump or run away or wasn't scared of all of my gear right there just landing right in front of him like that. I've put this up on him several times. This is by no means a first saddling, but I did want to put the saddle and the gear on him so we could work with him on this backing up. I mean, he might as well just wear it. You know, it might as well be just another routine that we go through in all of his daily activities. And he tolerates me, you know, kind of dinking around, adjusting stuff, putting the latigo on. You know, that slapping of the latigo when you first pull it down off the D-ring on the saddle, that can sometimes get them. You know, at this point, he's okay with me reaching underneath him. I'm not too worried about him jumping forward and kicking me or getting too upset. And worst case scenario, if he takes off and all of this stuff hits the ground, my equipment is tough enough it's going to survive it. Make sure when you do this, you either have really tough, good equipment or equipment that you don't care about at all, because I have had some wrecks where horses took off running before I had that saddle completely cinched up, and boy, was it a mess. I am sure glad I was using a really icky old beater Western saddle, because if you use your good stuff to do this, it's going to take a beating. So just fair warning, okay? So I'm really glad that he's standing there for all of this and tolerating it, accepting it, and allowing me to move all around him like I normally would when I tack up a horse. I really like that he stopped immediately. You know, he kind of started to walk away, but then he stopped, and he didn't have to go running off. And this is what's really cool right here. He starts following me around, and this has just come in the last handful of sessions, you know, kind of wanting to be with me. And then I pushed a little too hard there, and he's like, I'm not too sure about that. And he turned around and faced back up to me again. I got a little bit of licking and chewing there. And here's something else: when you're working at Liberty, you know, you have to kind of move around and get a feel for what's going to make that horse move. And you have to be careful with your approach. This guy has made it blatantly obvious that he doesn't like it when I approach him straight on at his head. He wants me to approach him more at an angle to his neck or to his shoulder. And while we're here, let's work on how you're moving your forehand over and moving your haunches are over. And he's giving me one step at a time, and that's really cool that he's giving me these little bitty steps and he's staying with me. So that's really neat right there. I try to keep my hands on him, keep petting him all the time, always reassuring him, making sure, you know, he stays soft, and he doesn't get, you know, abrasive and rigid. Look, we got some really good licking and chewing there. He's pretty relaxed. I tighten up my cinch just a little bit more, and he's tolerating all of that. He's not one to go running off bucking. He never has been when I put the saddle on, so I'm not too worried about sending him around in the saddle. Now, going this way, he's a little teeny bit leery of me on this side, and we'll see it here in a second. He tends to take too many steps away from me. He's not 100% sure in my body position here, as I ask him to move around. See, he goes off the other direction. He's not entirely sure which way to make his body go. And I'm going to go back up to him, and I'm going to try it again, and I get the same response. So same thing. He just doesn't quite understand what he's supposed to do, but he turns back around and faces me, and he licks and chews. So this is just he doesn't understand what I'm asking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help him and hold the little loop on the halter and keep his head towards me, and then push him over. And just remind him that that's what that cue is for. So real simple, really easy fix there. We don't have to get in a fight. He's not being resistant. He just didn't understand what I was asking for. So I try to pet him and rub on him as much as I can. Again, keep my hands on him. I walk away here because now I'm going to go get my reins that I'm going to use to practice backing him. And this is, again, really cool. He's following me over there. He was licking the whole time. And I grab a couple of reins. Actually, they're just a couple of lead ropes is all they are. And I think they're 9-foot lead ropes that I'm going to use. So he gets a little stuck there at the gate, and he's not quite sure. And you don't see me at first in this view. I was kind of moving back and forth there trying to get his attention. The further I go towards his hip, the better chance I have of his feet moving. So see how he kind of arced around to me there, and, you know, reassure him, pet him, and that gets his feet moving again, you know, my movement there. And I'm trying to get out here to get a good side profile for you guys, because the camera on the Pivo tends to like a side profile of the horse and not a video of it straight on. So I'm doing my best to keep him out here in the sunlight for you at a good angle. Look, we got a hoof cock back there, and I'm connecting up to the rings on the halter here. I really wanted to get a close-up for you of this. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, so doing my best here to zoom in for you. there are rings on this halter like it's a side pull, and I'm going to connect to those first. I throw these up over his back just like they're reins. Look at how quiet he is. We've come a long way with this colt, and it's taken a long time, and thankfully, again, the owner and breeder have allowed me to take quite a little time with him and bring him along slowly, because he's certainly worth it. Now, I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on him and ask him to back up. And the thing about backing a horse is you have to release when they start to think about taking that step back. If you've waited to release, and there again, I'm still not fast enough. If you've waited to release when the foot has taken the step back, you're already too late. And now here I'm asking for multiple steps back. And, we get it pretty resistant free, and he's pretty soft and quiet about it. I release and I pet him a bunch. And now I'm switching my clips here to the halter and the corners of the bit, okay? So now we're going to start getting some bit pressure here. And I already did this once with him before, and I didn't get very good footage for you guys, and I was really disappointed, so I'm shooting this again. So this is his second time doing this. So now we're doing the exact same thing with him, and I'm doing a little bit better on releasing the pressure a little bit faster now. I clip my rein back up to the halter to lead him forward. I don't want to lead him by the bit yet. And bring him out here back in front of you again so you guys can get a closer look at him. So I bring him over here closer for you guys, and I'm able to zoom in a little bit so you can see exactly how I'm connecting this lead rope up to that bit and the ring on the halter. So I'm getting kind of an even pressure off of mouth and nose there. And I ask him to back up again a few more times. And this is where I ended it in my previous session that I had with him that I kind of got on video. The Pivo was kind of freaking out that day. It was a little bit windy, so I didn't get everything on there, so I had to re-record it for you guys. Lots of petting on him. He seems to really like this, being touched and rubbed all over his face. So I go ahead and try to ask him to back as if I was on his back, or if I were on his back, and set my reins up, so to speak, and put my hands up over him and ask him for the back cue. And, his head raises up a little bit. His ears kind of cock back a little bit. He's aware of what's going on, but he did have a foot cock there to start. I got a little bit of step there, and I released right away. Look, we're getting a good looking chew here. He's relaxed over this whole thing. He's not being abrasive. So I have... And I will point out one thing here too, that a couple different friends that have watched these videos have pointed out to me, is that I'm not giving a long enough release to the horse. So I'm trying to make myself wait longer to allow him to accept and realize what's going on before I ask him to do it again. And so I'm kind of making myself wait and wait and wait, and it feels like it's an eternity before I ask him again. I take the time to kind of run my hand over him and touch him a little bit before I ask him to back up again. And I go ahead and pet on him, and I go to the other side. This side he's a little nervous on. Prior to this, he's been better on this side, so I'm not entirely sure what has changed, but, They change, and he's not entirely sure, and I just pushed him past threshold. So I pushed him out of his comfort zone. I go right back in and ask him again. I probably should have given a little bit more time there before I asked him for this backup again. Now, here's something that I want to point out too. What happens here is he just dips his head down and he gives his face. See that little give? And in my head, I was kind of struggling with this, and let me pause it. And so let's do this in slow motion. I'm putting pressure on him, and he dips his head down and he gets on the vertical. Do you see that? So here's where I'm torn. He gave the bit pressure, but he didn't back up. And 6 of one, half a dozen the other, something to think about there. I haven't finished a whole lot of horses, okay? Of the hundreds of horses I've started, I've probably only finished maybe 10% of those horses. I don't put a whole lot of headsets on horses, so I'm always conflicted on whether that pullback pressure is going to put the headset on them or ask them to back up, and what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of a situation. Being completely honest with you guys here. And he's giving to this pressure for me. He got a little nervous and he had to walk away there. But, we're asking him to do something, obviously different and new to what I've been asking of him. And I wasn't sure if I was going to have to, send him around or if he was going to go running off. But I just tried to stay quiet and move around a little bit and try to get him to, join back up with me here. And he did, which was really, really nice. So I really feel like we've made a lot of progress here. So at this point, because I can tell I'm pushing him past threshold, I'm going to ask for it and try to get it and then quit on that note, okay? But he didn't have a complete come apart right there. He still doesn't entirely understand what I'm asking for from that position. So I go back to the position where I'm out in front of him again. And again, when you guys do this, or if you try it, watch your head, because they will swing their head and they'll crack you in the head when you're asking them to do it from that position there in front of them. I'm going to go back to his side here. I'm going to set him up again, pretend like I'm on his back, asking with rein pressure. And as soon as I get it, I'm going to quit on that note, all right? So again, we get the putting the head in vertical position and lowering his head. And he's quiet about it. He's not getting upset. Obviously, he's accepting this. He's okay with this part. I ask again, and I get that lowered headset. And look, we got licking and chewing there. So I can't fault him for not backing up. He's giving to bit pressure. And now he's backed up for me, and I back totally out of his space. He's got a leg cocked. He's licking and chewing. He's super relaxed, and I'm going to quit on that note, you guys. I'm going to call it good with that and call this a win for the day. And I've come a long way with this horse, and I've just taken my time with him and had to back off quite a bit and take some of the pressure off and, go back a little bit to how I used to do things. So pull his reins down, connect that lead rope back up to the halter, and we're going to call it quits with that. I hope this helped you guys a lot. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share this video with a friend. Thanks for watching.